Hey guys, today we're going to be taking a look behind the scenes at my stop motion film, The Battle for Caen. I had to use a lot of different animation techniques in order to create many of the scenes in this project, so I'm excited to show you all how I did them. The first scene I want to take a look at is the opening shot to the video. This shot shows a wide view of the city of Caen with a few German soldiers and tanks moving forward. As you can see, there are a lot of buildings here, and the set seems to stretch quite a ways into the distance. Now, I don't actually have enough pieces to be able to build this for real, so I had to fake it. To do this, I set up all the buildings I did have on the bottom left of the shot. I then animated all the tanks and men, and when I had finished, I began moving the buildings around, putting them in different locations in the scene and taking a photo. I did my best to rotate the buildings to have different sides face the camera, so none of them would look like the same building in the finished shot. After this, the next thing I did was bring all these photos I had taken into an image editor and stitch them together into a single image. But as you might notice, the city still seems to end abruptly in the background. To fix this, I took some more pictures of the buildings and once again stitched them together. I then duplicated this image a couple of times and composited it in the background. Now that the image was complete, I brought the animation I had taken earlier and composited that on top. All that was left to do now was color correct the shot, add sound, and a bit of camera shake. The next thing we're going to take a look at is the plane scenes. For these shots, I built this B-17 bomber model that ended up being quite big and heavy, so I knew it was going to be a bit tricky to animate with. Thankfully, I only needed one plane, since I was going to be adding more in digitally. Using a few Technic pieces, I eventually came up with a way to hang it from a metal stand overhead. Once this was done, the stop motion animation was pretty simple. All I needed to do was rotate the propellers and, depending on the scene, move the plane forward and open the bomb bay doors. I also stuck a small plus-shaped piece on the background in the shots where the camera moved, so that I would be able to more easily track the digital elements in the shot. When all the stop-motion footage was done, I began creating the 3D setup for the background of these scenes. Fortunately, since when I create most of my models, I also make digital versions of them. This meant that I could just import the digital version of the B-17 into a 3D environment. I then animated the planes, moved them around to match the particular shot, and track the camera movement if necessary. For the shots where the planes are dropping their bombs, I animated some 3D models and, like before, tracked them to the footage. After I'd removed the supports from the scenes, I then took all these digital elements and composited them on the footage, while in some of the shots also adding some flak explosions and a city landscape in the background. For all the explosion scenes, I began by creating the explosion effect. Back when I was filming my previous stop motion, the Gallipoli campaign, I had taken a lot of footage of bricks flying through the air. I would then take those elements, set them up in a 3D space, add physics, and simulate an explosion. This method worked great since I could easily change the look of the explosion without any tedious animation. All I had to do was change the settings of the simulation. I used this technique for all the artillery explosions in that video. So for this video, I took those same simulations and scaled them up to more accurately represent the explosions from a bomb. I now took these elements and lined them up with the scene I was about to shoot. This way, when one of the digital bricks was about to hit the ground, I could replace it with a real brick in the actual shot. When the filming was done, I composited everything together, added flashes and sparks, and also masked out pieces that were used as supports or were supposed to be hidden from view. This combination of stop motion and digital animation really worked well together in my opinion, especially when it came to the building explosions, which was probably the most fun part of this project to see come together. The final group of scenes I want to take a look at are the tank explosions, which, unlike my earlier videos that combined animation and live action, the ones for this video were completely stop motion. This gave me a bit more control and matched the style of this video a bit better. These shots generally began with a hit to the tank, and then I would remove the turret and rebuild some of the tank with hinge pieces to represent metal curling back. In some of the shots, I would also shine a small flashlight in the first frame of the explosion to help make the digital flash I'd be adding later look like it was actually casting light onto the scene. I used the same method for all the muzzle flashes throughout this video. To hold the turret up in the air, I used a few ball and joint pieces on a stand. The post-production for these shots consisted of, first, removing the stand if necessary, then adding the visual effects to the hit, and finally, adding flames, sparks, and smoke to the explosion.